Dreams do come true. So kids, what's your dream?
What more is new? So bright, colorful, and new. Sometimes it feels hard, but you don't wanna give up.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
You can see my dream?
Of course, because I too had a dream. Some days I dreamt of becoming a tennis player, and some days a cricketer. To make their dreams real tomorrow, you need financial planning today. Choose from a range of child plans from Aegis Federal Life Insurance and help your child dream big.
Hello and welcome. 75 years of a rivalry which we now celebrate as one of the world's foremost cricketing rivalries. Perhaps even comparable to the Ashes, if not at this point in India, a rivalry with greater intensity than even the Ashes. I mean, India v Australia is perhaps the most watched cricket contest in the world, and we get into another edition of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. A lot hinges on it. World Test Championship final, Australia already there, India trying to be there. To talk more about it, how important, somebody who loves this country, somebody who's had a great record in this country, who's played in this country for a long time, been part of the Australian team, most recently won the award just about last week for the best T20 player in Australia for the year 22-23. Welcome, Marcus Stoinis. Thank you very much once again for speaking to me. Firstly, how is Dubai treating you? Sharjah Warriors T20, you're a champion of the format. How is Dubai treating you?
Yeah, like you said, I'm in Dubai at the moment, playing for the Sharjah Warriors. We unfortunately missed a win, an opportunity last night to secure a final, but we've got one more chance tomorrow, and we win that, we're through to the finals. And as you know, in T20 cricket, once you're in the finals, anything can happen.
Absolutely, and Marcus, I'm sure in one side of you must be focused on what's going on in our part of the world, in India, Australia v India, Australia training, India training, incredible series. I mean, you've been there, done that, played for Australia, played in this country. Can you tell me, India v Australia, how do you look at the rivalry? How important is it as a cricketer to come and win in India? How important is that? How difficult is that?
Yeah, I've got one eye keeping an eye on the test boys that are there, and like you said, you're watching them train, you're watching them how they're using the facilities and changing the pitches a little bit. They've got someone that bowls like Ashwin in there as well. So, yeah, I mean the rivalry against India is built not only on the competition between two such strong sides, but I think also the conditions there are so different to what we're used to, that the pressure is so different to what we're used to. Like for when India comes to Australia, the pressure of the bouncy wickets and the Mitchell Johnsons, Mitchell Starks of this world sort of thing. Whereas you go to India and it's the left armers attacking the stumps, Ashwin, the reverse swinging ball. So I think it's going to be a great series, and I'm looking forward to watching it for sure.
How difficult is it to beat India? I mean, beat India in India.
Yeah, I mean, the records probably speak for themselves. I don't think many teams do it. And I think that's what makes this series so exciting is we've got an Australian team that's at the top of its game. I think they're ranked number one in the test rankings at the moment, and we're going, like you said, into a World Test Championship not far around the corner. So it's probably the hardest trip to make, I'd assume, as a test playing team to go to India and win in India. But what a great opportunity, I think, with the Australian team going so well at the moment. But I know it's going to be tough.
If I actually think back to 2013, India sort of, romped home 4-0. But the moment I take 2017, it was a different ballgame. Pune, Australia beat India. Steve O'Keefe, the 12 wickets in that game. Bangalore, again, I mean, Australia bowled India out for 189, set it up. Unfortunately, in the first innings for Australia, they could not take a big lead. But if I actually take that series, the 2017-18 series, it was far closer than anything. Tells me that the rivalry has become far more intense. According to me, it's very difficult to call at the start of the series. Would you agree that this Australian side is perhaps the best prepared to win this final frontier? And how important is Jasprit Bumrah, Rishabh Pant not being there? So 2 questions.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Jasprit and Rishabh not being there. I mean, in both circumstances, it's unfortunate. Like we always say, you want to be playing against the best players in the world when you're coming up against a team, even if it's competition. And I said it the other day, but thoughts for Rishabh at the moment, because I know he's going through obviously something tough, and I'm not sure what the return to play schedule is for him, but yeah, been thinking about him, obviously being a teammate with him at Delhi for a long time. So thinking about him there. And then in terms of the cricket, I think the mindset that you have to go into as an Australian team is you're as well prepared as you're ever going to be. I mean, they've played a beautiful test series at home. They've dominated the home summer. Lots of batters in form. David Warner hungry after playing his 100th test in his home city. We've got Usman Khawaja, who's just been named Test Player of the Year. Steve Smith, who's a beautiful player of spin. Marnus is a beautiful player of spin. Travis Head, who's taken the game by storm, I think, in the last couple of years. So on a batting front, we've got that. Nathan Lyon, we know how good he is. And then we've got our big quicks. So like every team, you go there expecting to win. But I'm assuming the boys really know how good the Indian side is and how hard it is to beat them there. So it will add to this rivalry, I think, with such a good Australian team coming over.
Excellent answer. No Josh Hazelwood, no Mitchell Starc. I mean, again, unfortunate that Hazelwood missed the first test because of the Achilles injury, and no Mitchell Starc. How important is that, do you think? Because clearly, again, I mean, both sides missing their premier fast bowlers.
Yeah, I mean, it's with someone like Mitchell Starc, I think with the reverse swinging conditions, I think would be very handy to have over there in India, obviously. Injuries, we don't wish upon anyone. But in saying that, we got Paddy Cummins, we got some real ball speed. I don't know what way they're going to go with the team, but we got Lance Morris over there as well, which could be amazing debut to make in India for a fast bowler that comes from the Wacker. So he's a lovely young kid. So there's options there for sure. And like you said, the last couple of series that have been there have been closer than it might look. And you put some runs on in the first innings and you put some pressure on, and then anything can happen in those last couple of days of Test cricket.
And I was reading somewhere that you made this point about Virat Kohli. I mean, Virat Kohli back in business with the World Cup, and since then batting really well again. How important is Virat Kohli? I mean, and is it an ominous sign for any side? I mean, thoughts on Virat Kohli in India in peak form? Australia must be concerned about that.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think I know Virat well. I know that he's probably at a stage of his career where something like an Australian Test series in home, with the rivalry we've been speaking about, would do wonders for his competitive juices. And when he's, like you were saying, going into the World Cup in Australia, big crowds, big pressure, I think that's where those real top players come into their own. So it's not surprising to me to see how well he's been playing over the last little bit. And I know how hungry he'd be to do well against Australia. I know when he comes to Australia playing Test cricket, you can see the determination. I still remember watching from when Mitch Johnson hit him in the head early on in a Test match. I think, do you know where that was?
Yeah. The when he took over the captaincy from MS 2014.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still remember seeing that.
Sorry, 2018 series when Virat actually sort of overcame the final frontier. But 2014 is the one that you're talking about, that rivalry between him and Mitchell Johnson.
Yeah. I remember watching that Test series, and I remember you can see it in him and hearing him talk about it, how much that meant to him. So I think these occasions, these rivalries, bring the best out in him. So as much as I'm obviously want him to do well, I'm obviously wanting our boys to get on top of him, because I know how important he's going to be to the Indian side for sure.
Steve Smith, yet another person, who's done exceedingly well in Test match cricket even recently. And this battle, 2021, in Australia when we won at the Gabba, and that series in Melbourne, that Test match Boxing Day one, Ravi Ashwin actually got the better of Steve Smith, and that sort of set it up. That's another battle that the world will be watching: Steve Smith versus Ravichandran Ashwin on Indian soil. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that as well. And knowing Steve as well as I do, I think it's a beautiful thing when he gets challenged like that, because it's going to be really interesting. You see him adapt his game all the time, and you see him when he gets questioned, when he finds someone that's challenging him, he usually comes up with an answer. So I'm really interested to see how he plays that. And that's in every facet of Steve's game. He's just gone back to T20 cricket and opened the batting in the Big Bash, and he's made a couple of hundreds, So I think he's one of those guys that's always figuring things out, and the more he's challenged and the more questions that are asked of him, he seems to come up with the answers. So I'm really looking forward to that.
One question on Nathan Lyon. I'm sure, again, somebody you know very well. Perhaps one of the relatively unsung heroes. He's been one of the stars for Australia. If you actually look at his record, the impact that he's had, perhaps not given that level of credit, but what a player to have in that side, and the kind of impact he's had overseas on these conditions, these wickets. Talk a little bit about Nathan Lyon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably the hard thing about following someone like Shane Warne in a career, being the next spinner that's come in. But in terms of within the dressing rooms, I know, and around Australian cricket now, that he's definitely not taken for granted. And like you said, his record and the way he performs away from home in turning conditions that suit him, but also at home in Australia, the consistency, the control that he gives to the captain. He's won matches all around the world now, like you said, and he's played a lot of Test cricket. I remember playing against him from when we were 19 years old, and you knew there was something special about him. So I'm again, it's going to be a lot of responsibility on him coming to India, being the number one spinner in the team. But yeah, to him, I just hope he takes that obviously with both hands, like he has his whole career. And what a great opportunity it would be for him to really put his mark on another Test series.
For me, without Rishabh Pant and Jasprit Bumrah, it's 50-50. Would you agree, or would you say India's slight favourites?
I'm happy to go with you on 50-50 with that. I think that's a nice way to word it.
To come to you, Marcus, you will be soon here for the ODIs, and then obviously the World Cup is the big tournament this year for Australia. Again, if I think back, perhaps the best team at the moment in the world. You know these conditions. Your thoughts on that? How important will your trip be? Then the IPL, and then of course the World Cup. How are you looking at it from a personal standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I think India is my second home at the moment, so I'll be there, like you said, for the 1 days, stay for another 2 months with the IPL, and then back for the World Cup later in the year. So this first trip with the 1 days for Australia is going to be very important for personally, but also as a team. I think it's a great chance for us to play in the conditions that we're going to be playing a World Cup in. The team structure, we're going to have to figure a few things out, which I know the coaching staff are already talking about. But yeah, it's a great little period, this next 6 to 12 months, I guess, to spend that time in India and to personally build the game plan of how I want to play, the team, how we want to play. Because like you said, we're working up towards that World Cup. And we've got a good group of experienced players that with the bat, with the ball, that have all played a lot of cricket in India, mainly through the IPL, I guess. So it's an exciting 6 to 12 months.
Does that help? I mean, this just, you will actually be playing in India just 3-4 months before the World Cup, been playing for 2 months, this time home and away. So you will be traveling around the country, experiencing the conditions. Will that help during the World Cup? More so because whether it's a David Warner, whether it's a Steve Smith, whether it's yourself, you're all senior pros. I mean, you've been there, done that, won international tournaments, World Cups. Does that help, that this whole 2-3 month experience of playing in India?
Absolutely. I think that holds us in good stead for sure. I think it is a balance. It's a balance between being there, getting used to the conditions, but also making sure when a World Cup comes around that we're fresh and we're ready to go. But I think through my career, every time I leave for the IPL and I'm finished there, my game is in a different level. So I know that personally and selfishly, I'm looking forward to spending that time there to get myself ready for something that's so important to us players as individuals is these World Cups. So I think it will hold us in good stead. No matter how many times we've done it, it's definitely the best preparation.
Pat Cummins is captain. I mean, all of us have been, he took over in rather difficult circumstances, but the way he has captained the side so far, at least according to me, has been quite exemplary. Your thoughts on Pat Cummins as captain?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it there in terms of he's just an ultimate professional. I think he's carried himself so well. It was a tough time when he did take over the captaincy, but everything from the way he's led the boys on the field, in the changing rooms, the way he's spoken to the media, I think he's done a great job. And there's the exciting part is he's still new to it, so I think I'm excited to see how he's going to grow into the role as well. He looks so polished and he speaks so polished to us as a team and to the media. But what a great time to be in Australian cricket with him in the leadership role and Andrew McDonald obviously as well. So it's exciting to watch him grow into that, I think.
I'll end there with looking forward to welcoming you back in India, Marcus, and all the very best. I mean, with T20 duties, Australian duties, and of course, eventually the World Cup on Indian soil. I don't want you to win, not to beat India, but may the best team win. And for this series, like I said, my heart says India, but my mind says this is an Australian side which might just do it. It's too close to call, according to me. So fingers crossed. A month later, you and I will chat on our soil and maybe over a cup of tea discuss what happened in the Test series. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy Dubai and see you soon.
Sounds good, Boria. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you can watch all our content on the RevSportz app. Please download the app. All the instructions are given, and consume all sports, multi-sports content on the RevSportz app. Also, you can download and use our other platforms. You can subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Twitter for the best of sports coverage from all over the world. So the app or all of the other social media platforms for consumption of RevSportz sports coverage. Keep watching.